Hey everybody, this is Abe, and I just wanted to say before we start the show, we had a big loss at the DSO recently. Ann Parsons passed away uh, early this week, and we just wanted to acknowledge that on the show before we start. She was a big part of this organization. We have lots of history with her, and offer our condolences to her family and to the DSO community. And there will be more details soon on how the DSO will celebrate her life. So look out for those details. And we'll take a second here and then get on with our normal show. Thanks.
Hey everybody, I'm Andres,
I'm Scott.
And I'm Abe.
and this is Between Two Stands, a classical musicians podcast about classical music.
So, what are we doing today, guys? I didn't do my homework for this one.
Well, we had a question recently that was posed to us by our production team, Sarah, Natalie, Latoya, Kristen.
Mm-hmm. Great people, fantastic. I never talk to them. They always send me emails like, "Why aren't you responding?" And then I just don't respond.
And so their proposed question for the prelude this time is why certain composers matter and why they become household names, and sort of what would be your classical music starter pack. So I don't know where we want to start with that, but I think it's a
Well,
good
I thought like just to solidify the truth of that statement, there's if anyone's been to Orchestra Hall in Boston, they'll notice on the arch right above the where the musicians play, there's it just says Beethoven in huge letters on there. And have you guys seen this?
Yeah.
No, never
Yeah.
been there.
And there's every other one is blank. And
It's
apparently
terrible. Don't go.
Yeah.
That's
Apparently
actually amazing.
Boston?
yeah. So apparently the only those empty slots were supposed to be for different composers, and the one in the middle, obviously looks like the most important one, and they couldn't vote on which composer should go where, but they all collectively agreed that Beethoven should be in the middle, and they left the rest blank. So it just goes to show you that audiences and musicians alike recognize this man as being one of the greats, and obviously Bach and Mozart and Beethoven, Mahler, Brahms, they're all there. But the point is that these names are household for a reason.
What's the reason, Andres?
What's that reason? Right.
Well, that reason is, and there's only one reason, and that reason is, and that was it. Did I cut out there? Sorry, there was a little.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I mean,
well, I think you're missing one name that's really key to all this, and that's Buxtehude. I mean,
It's definitely Buxtehude. Yeah. Yeah.
that's one of the B's.
Akagem.
Exactly.
I mean, for starters, I mean, just to start with Beethoven, all the incredible music that he put out there that everyone still loves and listens to, and the fact that dude couldn't hear anything, I mean, but towards the end of it, I mean, that alone is an incredible feat. I mean, that'd be like, just like a blind tennis player or something. I don't know. It'd be incredible, So yeah, I mean, that's one of the amazing reasons why he's revered.
I mean, I definitely think the question is so big and so hard to answer. I lost Dave here. So it's difficult to answer, but it's like we can start with Beethoven because like he's the center of that Boston like mantelpiece. I don't exactly know what to call it.
I think that's what,
the frieze,
the proscenium, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we can even just focus on him for a second. And prior to Beethoven, so Beethoven lived just after Mozart. Like they were alive at the same time.
They overlapped.
Briefly.
I think Beethoven took a lesson from Mozart at one point.
I didn't think he was able to. He wanted to study with maybe when he was very young. He wanted to study.
He performed for him.
Okay, yeah. And he wanted to study with Mozart, but
that didn't work. It was just like a one-off.
And Mozart, died quite young, famously.
Yeah,
right. And Beethoven did study with Haydn.
Yes,
I mean it wasn't as much as we think. Based on what I read, but
but like Haydn and Mozart were writing, and Beethoven were writing, like Beethoven less so. Were writing for the court, the royalty at the time, the most important person in that scenario was the royalty. And then Beethoven comes along, and he's writing just after the French Revolution. So there's this culmination in time where art and history kind of meet, where the royalty isn't seen as so important anymore. So what are we writing this music for? And Beethoven's like, for me, because I'm so important, and because I have this struggle, and he was like almost for those reasons, like the original famous tormented artist that also was losing his hearing as a musician. So it's like a really captivating story.
Yeah, he kind of is the first guy to break away from the grips of these sponsored concerts and sponsored events. He makes art or for himself,
right?
Which is pretty badass.
And the choice to express his own feelings for his own feelings. He's not writing this piece because it's the prince's birthday and he wants to have a nice thing to walk into the room to. He's writing this because he feels something and he wants other people to feel that too. And so he kind of started a whole new period of music with the Romantic period. And I should have started with this. I'm not a music historian, so I could be wrong about every word I just said.
Right.
But
I actually did read. I just read a biography about Beethoven, and not that I remember any of it, but
I think I saw that picture book on your shelf. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Was reading it to Sam. Come on, Andres.
Yeah.
You color the hair purple. Why? Because I've never seen purple hair.
Yeah.
But what's really funny is that he was really protective of his music and went to great lengths to negotiate favorable contracts for publishing and for performances and stuff like that. And he would put on his own concerts to raise money to sustain his livelihood. And, in some points he was renting multiple apartments in different locations at the same time. And, I think money was always a thing for him. And I just thought that was really interesting because he both was able to break away from sort of the court and also sustain a pretty magnificent life for himself, even though he was, bogged down by medical issues and sort of tortured by himself really for a lot of his life, and he was also tortured by love that never happened, and then of course, once he lost his hearing, he was in his own sound world. And
there's this interesting experiment that this audiologist did where they try to construct what it would be like to hear what he heard when he wrote the Ninth Symphony, and it's just it's basically nothing. I mean, it's just like low bass sounds, and just having to write a symphony like that is unbelievable to think about.
Yeah, it's low bass sounds are really different than the high bass sounds. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just make fun.
Thank you. You got the pompousness of a historian, so that's all that matters. Anyway, so the ninth, so he wrote the nine symphonies, and obviously the Ninth Symphony is like considered still to be one of the greatest of all time. And I think at that time, people were like, no one can write a better symphony. Like this is the epitome of a symphony. This is the best symphony. No symphony can top this symphony. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. And another one of the Bs, Brahms,
right,
I think took that and said, you know what, I'm going to redo the symphony and how the symphony works. And Brahms kind of made the symphony available to composers again. I think, I mean, that his first symphony is pretty incredibly epic.
Well, yeah, but he didn't write that until he was like middle-aged,
right?
Because he was intimidated by Beethoven, which is another thing that I think as musicians, you look to the people who are creating now, who they admired or who they admire. And like, so Beethoven looked back to, so Brahms looked back to Beethoven, who looked back to Mozart, who looked back to Bach. And so there are these traditions on who they studied with and everything else, which of course affects it, but those things are still felt now because Mahler had like, I think Wagner, Brahms, and Beethoven's portraits in his composition shed.
Wow.
So, but then he just wrote all about himself, so it was fine.
Well, but that's what Beethoven did. So he's just emulating the greats.
Right.
So why do you think Brahms is in the discussion?
For the best?
Or just in one of the household names?
Oh, I think that the way Brahms constructed a symphony is as close, like it's so exquisitely planned. Like there's no accidental note. Yeah. Well, wait, accidentals are a thing in music. There's no incidental.
A mistake.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no incidental music. Dang it! I keep screwing up.
Yeah.
It's just everything he did was so purposeful, especially in the symphonies. That was like his his big most. I think those were his most serious works.
Yeah.
Which might be one of the reasons why he's revered, because for Mozart it was operas. For Beethoven he only wrote the one opera, so it was probably symphonies for Beethoven.
Yeah.
But
piano sonatas, I feel like he did
string quartets.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. It's hard to say.
And then I guess
if we can stick to like symphonic rep, or we can go into everything else too.
All right, Abe, you go.
Tell us about the piano sonatas. You seem to be an expert on Mozart piano sonatas.
Mozart piano sonatas. Oh, don't get me started. I was actually going to say, I think Mozart is most well known for his operas, but I think, his last couple symphonies really solidified sort of him as a household name as a symphonic writer.
Yeah.
Sort of, I would say 35 on, right?
Yeah, I was about to say Hafner on, yeah.
Yeah, and then not that the other symphonies aren't great. I mean, I've listened, when Sam was born, I just sort of listened to all of them while holding him at one point. They're all pretty good,
You held him and said, in 7 years, you should be writing this because that's how old he was.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I'll be very disappointed.
Opus 1 number 1 at 8 years old.
Yeah, you got 7 more years, Sam.
And then, the Mozart also, like Haydn is an example, really. I think Papa Haydn he's given that name because he was sort of the father of the string quartet as sort of a serious genre of music. And Mozart, I think, really solidified in a meaningful way in his last 3 string quartets, sort of that the group could function equally at times in a way that hadn't before, where like mostly the first violin had the melody and everybody else accompanied, right? And then Beethoven took that in the string quartet world with sort of Haydn and Mozart. And, the middle string quartets, the 59s, Razumovsky's, are probably some of the great works. And then, of course, the late quartets that he wrote, Andres said earlier, Beethoven was completely deaf, and he wrote those late string quartets. And, that's a lot of
And Haydn, don't forget,
chamber
he wrote
music.
over 100 symphonies.
Yeah,
Haydn wrote 107.
Well, it's
So
kind of
that's
interesting because Haydn sort of solidified the form of the
right, right.
symphony and the
Four
string
movements.
quartet.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's like that you owe him. But also like Bach,
I was
if
gonna
you're going
say,
back,
I was
it's
gonna say
hard.
they're probably the biggest B of them all. The biggest B of them all
yeah.
is Bach. So like, I mean, that guy had just a crazy life, but also just kind of like wrote the structure of what I feel like modern classical music is, and I think to this day, every instrument studies his work
Yeah.
to improve your playing and your understanding. And
Yeah.
I think
His
there's a
output
certain
was
clarity.
just,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, his output was also just prolific. I mean,
I mean, he kind
thousands of
of
works.
his counterpoint, which is like just like the relationship between bottom and top notes, melodies, basically you know just kind of like the basis of the future classical music, and that's how we study music theory and that his works just like epitomize that, and we all study that in music theory still.
Yeah. And we have, I think part of the original question that Sarah put to us in our meeting was like, how do these composers influence pop culture?
Well,
and
leave the
we
quotes,
haven't,
Bob.
and we're still talking about when these guys were alive. We haven't even gotten to now yet, right?
Right, right.
Oh man. Well, I don't know anything about pop culture. I play a French
Yeah.
horn for a living. What?
Yeah. I think my comment was like Beethoven 5 at the disco, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. That's good.
Right. Ba-ba-ba-bum.
Walter
Yeah.
Murphy,
Yeah.
fifth of Beethoven.
Yeah. And then, Beethoven 9 was like the soundtrack for A Clockwork Orange, which I'm not sure we should talk about, but
Well, also Sprach
also
in
Sprague, right? The first
2001.
Listen,
minute.
I don't know how
Oh,
I don't know how it influences pop music, but I think that there's a theme that a lot of music evolves from liturgy and church, and even back then, I mean, especially back then, modern classical music kind of came from the church, and Bach played church organ and wrote music for the church, and Mozart wrote music for the church. His his masses, so and then in modern day we have rock and roll that evolved from blues, that evolved from like hymns that came from religious undertones. So I
yeah.
think in that way, um there is similarities in how this music evolved.
Well, there's nothing happens in a vacuum, right? So like when Brahms wrote his first symphony, he wrote a huge Alp horn call in it because he heard that walking in the Alps.
Yeah.
And so and Kodai famously like walked around and recorded folk songs so that he could then, kind of try to use them in his compositions. And Rite of
Right.
Spring is almost
Right.
all exclusively little snippets of folk songs and things that he's kind of mashed together in weird ways and to make it sound like it does.
Scott, how does Rite of Spring go?
Let's see. Ba 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 ba.
Nice. For those of you who
Still got
might
it.
be new listeners, you should
He
check out
still
our
got
first
it.
season.
Yeah.
We asked every guest how the Rite of Spring goes, and it was amazing.
I do love that question.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like-
I mean, yeah, I think you're right.
So so we could go on about this for
Days,
however long
years.
So if we
people
had to
do.
sort of give like a starter pack of, let's say, symphonic repertoire, like composers to listen to, let's stick. I mean, we're the symphony, right? I mean,
Sure.
So if you could give like a starter pack of, maybe 4 or 5 composers and a couple pieces to look out for, which ones would you choose?
We're just
I'll
talking
jump.
symphonies. Just talking symphonies.
Yeah, let's just talk symphonies for
Yeah.
a second.
Well, I'm
Unless
not
you
going to
want
do
to.
symphonies. I'm going to do symphonic works though. So like Bach's
Fine.
Orchestral Suite Number 3,
Okay.
with that famously has the air on the G string. People will know and recognize that, but they might not know the rest of the piece. Um, and
Brandenburg. Dun, 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 dun.
I like the orchestral suite more. I don't know what to tell
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
you.
This is
Mozart
yeah,
Requiem. I think that's the one that I
yeah.
would do for that. You're going to recognize a lot of that from movies as well. There's going to be a lot of pop culture things that are referenced. The Lacrimosa from Mozart Requiem is used like to be creepy now, which is kind of amazing.
But also, he died in the middle of writing that
Yeah.
particular movement. So like I think he wrote the opening, like I don't, maybe 12 bars, 16 bars, and then his students finished it, as to
Right.
what he thinks, or maybe from sketches that he had. But that's I love that one.
Oh man, it's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Beethoven 7, I'll say.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's
from a pop culture standpoint, or just from a general standpoint.
just
From a
from a
Scott
general
culture, Scott
standpoint.
culture.
You know Beethoven
Scott
5,
culture.
you know Beethoven 9. Let's learn a new one, and it's amazing.
And
It's-
also,
I would
every
say
movement's
Beethoven
good.
6 then, because it's a little different, right? It's a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit more
Beethoven 6 is
programmatic.
kind of weird because I haven't done symphonies yet. That's the reason why I think
Oh,
a
okay.
standard Beethoven 7 would be
Yeah.
the way to go. Now, worth noting, and I'm sure this isn't lost on anyone, is that everybody's German.
Yeah,
Bach,
that's true.
Mozart, Beethoven,
Right.
and I'm gonna keep that trend going with Brahms. And I'll say this one. I'll be weird. I'll say Brahms 3.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's a weird one.
the off twist.
I know. I'm sorry, but I'm not that sorry. It's great. Just
Okay.
it doesn't end the same way as like 2 or 1, and 4 is definitely different. But yeah, Brahms 3 is just great, and it's got a big horn solo, so I'm going there. And then last, let's just go with how out there we can be and go to the Ballet Russe and do Bartok's Miraculous Mandarin.
Oh, that's a great one, man.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Yeah.
Just it's out there. It's ballet music, so it's kind of a different thing. I've got choral, ballet, symphonies, and other stuff.
It's
There you
talking about
go.
folk music. That dude, that he's like the king of folk songs.
Absolutely, and it's just an exploration in dissonance that I kind of love.
Yeah. Dude, Mozart's from Austria too, so you're good.
Yeah. Okay, so those are my 5 and 5 pieces. What about you, Abe?
All right. Let's see. I would say I like your choice about Bach, so I'll leave that one there. I'd say Mozart 40 or 41, recognizable, and if you haven't listened to them in full, you will recognize them. I think. You know, I already mentioned Beethoven 6. I think that to me is one of my all-time favorites. I think one of the most beautiful moments in music is the transition from the fourth movement to the fifth movement, the storm, right? Coming out of the storm that's just an incredible moment in music. Again, a horn solo. So you're welcome, Scott.
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
doesn't seem like a coincidence to me.
Right. I mean, go again. Brahms 1 horn solo, right? I would go with like a Mahler symphony too. I would want to put in maybe 1 or 4 if sort of as a starter. I think they're a little shorter than the others, and but of course 5. I think people would recognize 5. And then I would go with some Stravinsky. I would go like Rite of Spring or Firebird, right? In terms of sort of the symphonic works genre. Um,
Excellent. Well, that's a great starter pack. I feel like if you know those pieces,
yeah.
you can look at a season announcement, say the DSO's 22-23 season announcement at dso.org,
Oh, I
and
smell a transition.
well, I do want to hear Andres's five, but I just think that you would have like a good set of things to base your choices on.
Um, so I would, I think about this a lot actually, because I meet people who some don't know classical music very well, and some have never even gone to a concert or never gone to the hall or whatever. And I actually kind of like enjoy talking to those people because you can kind of like curate what they're gonna, their first experience.
That's
Um,
true. Yeah.
so you can kind of like they'll ask me like, should I go to this concert? And it could be a great concert, but maybe not a good first concert. You know what I mean? So I think about what would be a good concert for first timers to listen to, or for a good composer for first timers to listen to. And I think that maybe uh, Symphonic Dances, Rachmaninoff's Symphonic Dances is one of the coolest, most exciting pieces that kind of showcases everyone. And I think that, yeah, I've always thought that that's just a great piece. I think like a tone poem, like I think um, like a Salome or Till Eulenspiegel or oh my God, also Sprach. One of those where it's just one solid work, but but has a story and meaning behind it. I think that would be really great. Um, yeah, I think yeah, Mozart 40 or 41 would be perfect, just because I mean, like you said, like you'd recognize some melodies, but it's also like those were his best ones. I think the last two, I
Yeah.
mean, with all the thematic overlap that happens. Um, and then, I mean, listen, like I said, we always go back to Mahler. I love Mahler. It can be daunting to sit through a Mahler, for the first time. I mean, it really depends on your mood. If you've never, sit through an hour plus music, I mean, it's some of the best music ever written, but it could be daunting. So I get that. So I don't know if I'd put that on the beginner list, but yeah, I mean, maybe something like Petrushka or something, where it's like there's a lot going on. It's almost like these little vignettes that happen where it's little bites of music, so you don't have to. It doesn't feel like all at once. It's almost like a book that has chapters that kind of break up the story a little bit. So yeah, that might be mine off the
I,
top of my head.
I sort of
Good.
like the way that you approach that question, and I think that can lead us into our next topic, which is, talking about next season, because it was just announced, and uh, yeah. So
Oh,
one of the things I like about your idea, Andres, about choosing a good first concert, right, is because a lot of times you'll choose a piece to go listen to, and then because you're there to hear the piece, you'll also hear, a couple others on the program, and so you get a good experience. And if you look at our next season, a lot of pieces are programmed with new commissioned works, right, or a really interesting concerto with a soloist that gives you a different kind of experience than just sort of a symphonic work. Um, so with that said, why don't we talk about next season and what counts? Are we playing the game first, or are we going right into just talking about our
We can play the
faves?
game because I think
let's play
this
the
is all
game.
related.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so this is the game. The game is, what are you most excited about? Abe, you're the first contestant. Andres, you and I are playing against each other. So I'm looking at four different programs from next season. We have the opener, which is La Mer and Bolero. We have Prokofiev's First Symphony, Haydn Cello Concerto, Chevalier Saint George Symphony Number 2, Mozart Prague Symphony. That's all in one program. So
And that's the
Lamere
Mozart
Bolero.
38, which we were just
Yes.
talking about, his last couple symphonies.
Right.
Or at least
So we've got Lamere and Bolero, we've got Mozart, we've got the next concert is Beethoven 3 and the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto, and then the Brahms Second Piano Concerto, the Still Festive Overture, and the Florence Price. It looks like Symphony Number 1.
Yes, it's Symphony Number 1 on that program.
Yes.
So which one would Abe like the best?
Which of those programs is Abe most excited about playing?
Okay, let me see. Let me think about that.
It's got to be Bolero. It's got to be Bolero.
Man, I'm gonna throw out the Mozart Prague Symphony.
Yeah, I mean that's got the Haydn cello concerto on it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're doing there. I'm gonna say that it's the La Mer, the opener with Yoder. Abe.
Wow, I'd be curious to know why. I mean, the cello concerto things. What? Wow. So for me, out of those programs, I would have actually said either the Brahms Second Piano Concerto because it's got that gorgeous cello solo in the second
Oh
movement.
yeah.
Or for me, I think performing Beethoven's Third Symphony is one of my favorite things to do all the time ever. And I think Mendelssohn Violin Concerto is a beautiful piece, so I'd probably go with that one.
Wow.
Man, we lost, Scott.
We blew it. We
don't know our friend at all.
It's
okay.
It's okay.
Andres, you are the next contestant, and Abe and I are playing each other.
Okay.
Okay, so we have the Shostakovich Violin Concerto and the Schumann-Rhenish Symphony. We have the Mendelssohn Piano Concerto Number 1 and Dvorak's Eighth Symphony. We have the Prokofiev Symphonia Concertante for cello and orchestra and the Sibelius First Symphony. And then we have Mahler 2. So I'm gonna go ahead and eliminate Mahler 2 from this list. You can't pick any. You can't pick that one because that's a little obvious.
That's okay,
as we've
fine.
just been saying.
Yeah.
But these other
Wait,
concerts.
what did he say about Mahler? I forget. Was it some of the greatest music ever?
I think that was it.
I think that's the one.
So Shostakovich Violin Concerto with the Schumann Third Symphony, Mendelssohn Piano Concerto Number 1, Dvorak 8, Prokofiev Symphonia Concertante for cello and orchestra, and Sibelius 1. What do you think, Abe? What is Andres most excited about?
I'm gonna go with Dvorak 8.
I'm gonna go with Mahler 2. No,
I thought you said we couldn't use that one.
I think
he makes the rules.
I think the Shostakovich Violin Concerto and the Schumann-Rhenish Symphony, just because that violin concerto is so awesome.
That's if any of them, I hate to say it, maybe not all of them tickled my fancy like some other programs did, but if I had to choose one, that would be the one. Yeah, because I mean, I think have we played that while we were here, Scott?
The Shostakovich?
Yeah, have we played that?
We have.
Was that with Augustine Heidelech at one point, or
I don't
I'm trying to remember who it was.
It might have been.
But man, I mean, that's always awesome, and that's
what a powerful piece. It's so good.
So
I mean, the Schumann is also like I love that program. For me is incredibly
that's a good
exciting.
One. Yeah,
but I'm also excited about this Prokofiev. I don't know the piece at all, Abe.
So the Prokofiev Symphony Concertante is a cello concerto that was written for Rostropovich.
Okay.
And he actually wrote 2 cello concertos I think both for Rostropovich. And they're both some of the most difficult pieces you can play on the cello, period. And since I was just studying, this is the young cellist Edgar Moreau, I think, right, is playing it. Mm-hmm. He played... What did he play? That's Dvorak, I think. He was here a couple of years ago and played. Maybe Dvorak? Was it Dvorak? I think so. I don't know. I don't remember. It was before the pandemic.
Did Dvorak write a cello concerto?
Oh, yes, he did, Scott. Oh, he did. And does it have a beautiful horn solo in the opening tutti?
Glorious.
Oh, yes. It does.
It does.
So that's going to be the Prokofiev Symphony Concertante. It's a it's a great piece, and it's just fireworks on the cello. So if you're interested,
Prokofiev's one
pick
of those
that one.
composers. He didn't write anything easy, did he? It's
No.
just like everything is really difficult.
Yeah, like the classical symphony. It's like, oh yeah, that'll be played it a bunch of times. That'll be easy, and it's not every time.
Well, and it sounds so like sweet and light,
Right.
and
Well,
and
that's
all
what
the-
I always say that his stuff kind of has like it'd be perfect for cartoons. It's got like this like light. I mean, you know, as opposed to like Shostakovich, where it's all very serious. Like he's got a
it's
very
really
like
heavy. Yeah.
he's got like a very light, like jovial sound, but it's hard.
Prokofiev wrote a lot for movies, and you know, and for so that his music is very
cinematic.
You know, yeah.
Well, and so did Shostakovich, but they were all like Soviet films, right? So they all had to be like for the for the state and full of propaganda in weird ways.
Yeah.
It's okay. So I have a point, and it's the last round. So we're gonna do the season up until March 30th.
because that's how far he got.
Well, no, I got through the whole thing, but I feel like you know, for time, people only want to hear about us so much, you know.
Right.
And we gotta make sure there's
only some of the time, all the time.
So, okay. I am now the contestant. You two are playing against each other. Which program am I most excited to play? We have Stravinsky Symphonies of Wind Instruments, Bartók Music for Strings and Percussion. What?
And
Sorry.
celeste.
Percussion and celeste.
Yes. Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. My handwriting is terrible, but like I know what the piece is. I'm just trying to remember what the order was and everything. And then the Brahms first piano concerto. So that's the first program. Stravinsky, Bartók, and Brahms. Then we have a saxophone concerto world premiere with Shostakovich 5. Then we have Rachmaninoff's second piano concerto and Brahms 4. And then the Khachaturian Adagio from Spartacus, the Marquez Fandango and Danzon No. 2, and the Firebird. So, out of those four, Brahms Piano Concerto, Shostakovich 5, Brahms 4, Firebird.
I feel like this is way more difficult for us than the other ones were.
Yeah. There's a lot more in there. I'm gonna go ahead and say
It's rigged.
It's
I'm gonna
rigged.
say Brahms 4 concert. Abe.
I really want to. So it's Rock 2, Brahms 4. What was the one before that?
The one before that was the saxophone concerto premiere
And Shosti 5.
Shostakovich 5.
Ooh, see, like the Shosti 5 and the those are such great programs. The Firebird, right? If we had played that
Great.
like as the first concert coming out of the pandemic with the first full orchestra concert, like a
Rising from the Ashes.
From the Ashes.
Oh,
right?
Oh, it's such a beautiful moment that we didn't do.
But we're doing it in the middle of next season or towards the end of next season. Right. Okay. Great concert to watch out for. Those are just such great. I don't know. Shosti 5.
Andres was right. I
figured. Yeah, it's such a great program.
That's a good one.
That's
killer.
Kind of
perfect
Brahms
one.
4 is so fun for the third horn, especially.
Yeah.
And Rock 2 is also just like an amazing thing.
Rock 2 is like as far as like concertos and symphonic works, like Rock 2, the second piano concerto, is one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. So those are like two of the all-time great pieces sort of ever.
On one concert.
Right. and it was a hard question because like the Stravinsky Symphonies of Wind Instruments, like that's almost never done.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool piece. And the Bartók is also just amazing.
That's a great one.
And then you round it out with the Brahms.
That's the one
piano
isn't
concerto.
that the one that's used in The Shining? That's
Bartók,
yeah, that's the music that's used. Like when he's creeping through the halls, it's like some of the eeriest music ever. and it's I've never played that actually. Looking forward to that.
Are there percussion parts in that one?
No, he just wrote that in there for the title, but music for strings, percussion, celeste for brass ensemble.
So this is perfect because the results are in, and we don't have a winner because Andres and I are tied, but we do have a loser.
Yay.
You know, I'm always a loser, and I'm happy to be that anchor, the anchor of the show as the loser,
the lovable loser.
You know, I grew up in Chicago. I was a big diehard Cubs fan, right?
Yeah.
You know, lovable losers, and then they won. I mean,
and now you brought it to Detroit.
Yeah, so now Detroit's going to win, right?
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
In 100 years.
The Lions. Right?
Oh man.
Oh,
well, we look. This is getting me excited for next year. All this program talk. It's gonna be really
and
epic.
There's more, and that doesn't even get into pops or jazz or any of the other. And
also should be noted, like, you know, the first real season with Yoder, you know, like, and a full orchestra and full audience. So it's gonna be like, I mean, without any like, you know, masks, precaution. Hopefully no mass precautions and anything. So
now we're jinxed. No, Andres.
Yeah. So sorry, but you know, looking forward to that, and it should be a really good year.
Absolutely, check it out, dso.org.
All right, well, that's our preview of the 22-23 season in a game. And we just wanted to let you know that on the website, dso.org, please go and subscribe if you're interested in a subscription. And if you renew by April 19th, you get a free concert and you get to enjoy the best seats at the best prices all season long. With that said, we do have a couple events coming up in April that we would like to share with you. No one? Okay, do I keep going?
No. Yeah, I'm just getting it up. Roll. If you,
you're on a roll.
Okay, all right. So I'll keep going. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
So April 7th through April 9, Beethoven Piano Concerto No. 4. Paul Lewis joins the DSO for Beethoven's Serene Fourth Concerto. Today, a staple of the piano concerto repertoire. Dvorak's Seventh Symphony was written in a flurry of Czech nationalism. God grant that this Czech music will move the world, the composer wrote. Go to www.dso.org.
/events. And
tickets, /events, /2122 -spring, Oh, no, it's /. Is it / or /?
I don't know if it matters in the. And anyway, the next event we have April 22nd and 23rd. We have Salome's Seduction. It's not what you think. Seductive and persuading, Salome's dance before Herod appears in depictions all across all art forms, ranging from medieval artists to Rita Hayworth. Conductor Fabien Gabel returns to lead the DSO in a program of musical gems inspired by an original femme fatale, evoking the French.
That's how I'd describe you, Scott.
Seductive. Femme fatale?
Yeah. What was it? Seductive and inviting.
Oh, yes. I'm honored. Evoking the French-infused programs of the DSO's former music director, Paul Perret. And that's going to be...
Should we just read it? Natalie should be able to add a clip if you
we should definitely read it. Natalie, add a clip for the love of God. Okay.
Maybe also cut that part out and just add the clip underneath.
Doing that.
You know what's going to be even better?
Should I try this again?
What's even better is that it's just all going to stay in here. Maybe it should just all stay in here. Let's keep going.
All right, Andres.
And last but not least, what's going on in April here? We got a salsa dance party. If you're not into Salome's Seduction, there's a salsa dance party in the queue.
What are you looking at?
We got Rachmaninoff Symphony No. 2
Wait,
did you already say that?
Andres, you're the best.
You're the best, man.
What happened?
So go to your email. Sarah sent us an email with all this information.
Got it.
Okay, so
I'm
you're
reading the
selected.
calendar.
I'll read the next one, and then you can read the last one. How about
Okay.
that?
Oh, here we go.
Oh no, Andres, why don't you read the next one? Go ahead.
April 29th, Wu Family Academy Showcase, featuring 2 commission premieres.
Bravo.
Angelica Negron's Tornasol and Chris Johnson's Golden Jubilee, a fanfare for brass and percussion. Ooh,
Chris Johnson,
Scott.
friend of the show.
Yeah,
friend of the show. And maybe we inspired him. No, I'm just kidding. Brass and percussion. And then April 30th, Paradise Jazz Big Band, commemorating 80 years since Orchestra Hall reopened as the Paradise Theater in 1941. The DSO is thrilled to debut its Paradise Jazz Big Band, comprised of top jazz musicians from Detroit and special guests from around the world. So sounds really like a great month, and go check that out.
And there are 4 more events in the Cube. Visit dso.org/cube for more details on upcoming Cube programs.
Thanks, everybody.
Cubular. All right. See you.
We're still let that sit for a little bit.
Cubular?
Yeah. Well, that's it. And
it's totally cubular.
Oh, man.
And scene.